G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video. So here we go, we're doing something a little bit different today. So instead of chopping and changing to different parts of the race, as some parts get boring, I'm actually going to have a look at the replay features in this game, and we'll have a look at a couple of different perspectives of some points in the race, namely a little ride on with Auberjan 13 who'll be in the race, and Nobapu. So I'll have a look at my race first and foremost. So if my race has something interesting, we'll have a look at my race, obviously in my Holden Mustang. But if the race sort of lulls a bit for me, we'll have a look at the other couple of players there. But the combination is one of the brand new circuit, Sardegna Road Track. So of course Sardegna was originally just a rally track, Sardegna Windmills, and then in the most recent update, or second most recent update now, they added 3 road track variations. This is the B version. Now each of those variations can go in reverse, so technically they added 6 tracks, but of course it's just each road track and then its reverse version. And we're in Group 3, so I've gone for it's Ford Mustang Group 3, but it's actually a Holden Mustang now, because it says Holden on it, on my livery. But I've just chosen that car because I didn't really get much practice for this race, so I just thought, you know what, I'll go with something I know, and I went for the Ford Mustang. I like the way it drives, so that's the one we're going to choose around this circuit today. So you saw my lap, a 121.7, it puts me 13th on the grid. Unlucky 13th. Well, to be fair, any position I get is unlucky because I'll always bin it anyway. But let's see how many positions I can make up. So mainly the strategy for these races is fuel and tyre use. Obviously, I got the fuel map up in the bottom right. So the first stint is usually just race, but short shift a little bit, so you save a little bit of fuel, which means you have to spend less time stationary in the pit lane refueling. And you can usually jump a couple of people out on the track that way anyway. But we'll go up to turn 1 first, obviously. We'll brake at the 100 meter board. Let's see what happens down here. I go around the outside of the Audi. Is it going to be enough? Not quite. He just slots in ahead, so that was an attempt at a move at lap 1, turn 1, but we'll see how we go, because the Audi is actually side by side with the Rainy in the Nissan there, but they go very wide actually. I'm on the power nice and early, and I managed to overtake the Nissan as we go through turn 4 there. Turn 5, a banked right-hander. It goes on forever. You've got to be so patient, but then it's a really interesting corner. You've got to be so patient, but then when it's time to get on the throttle, you feel like it's too late. So you almost got to anticipate when to get on the throttle, even if you don't feel like you're able to. Turn 8 now, it's actually a good overtaking opportunity, as it's more than 90 degrees, but a couple of people are off in the gravel trap up ahead, and Auberjan will take a ride with him later. Has actually got a 3-second penalty and brakes very early. Audi goes into the back of him, a little bit of lag with that Audi actually, and just finishes up his lag by almost pit manoeuvring me. But it's okay. So the end of lap 1, we're in 9th position. We'll go through turns 12 and 13, a little bit deep through 12, which means turn 13 isn't great, and that leads onto the straight. So a little bit of a poor run through there, but it's not too bad as we're in the slipstream of Soccermad 21 in the Audi. We're having trouble past that Audi actually. So the penalty on the Nissan as well, he'll serve that going up the hill towards turn 9. So we'll obviously get that position, so we're in effectively 8th position. But we'll see any more chaos that happens. You can see there's a bit of a train forming from 6th all the way down to 9th. From, what's his name? I can't see, it starts with E. Down to me, Smokescreen. But we'll see how we go through the right-hander here, turn 5. So this particular combination, it's interesting. Obviously, it's the new track. I'm never going to say no to the new track. But you can see we head down the downhill section through turn 7 now, up towards turn 8. You can see the Nissan is preparing to serve his penalty. He goes a little bit wide through turn 8. You really got to slow down more than you think, because it's sort of a bit of a dip as well. So when you come through the corner, the sort of upwards part on the exit of the corner can really throw you wide into the gravel trap. Demonstrated a lap ago by the two people that were off the side of the road when we went through their last lap. But we make up the position to Aubergine. You can see he's 8 tenths behind now as we finish up lap 2. So it's a fairly short lap, but if you have a look, it's like a bit of a play on Catalunya. Of course, this is a fictional track, so the game developers could make it look like whatever they want. Of course, Sardegna as a location, or Sardegna location is real, it's an island in Italy, but as far as the representation in this game goes, it's all fictional. There's no real life Sardegna track. But someone was off the track at the end, at the exit of turn 1. We make up another position into 7th place. You can see that the BMW up ahead got a penalty thanks to that. We got a little bit wide through turn 4, but it's not too bad, so we'll make up another position when the BMW serves his penalty. So we're effectively in 6th position, which isn't too bad considering we started 13th. So ideally, if we get past this BMW, obviously we'll want to finish the race in the highest position we'll ever get up to, excluding any positions gained via pit stops. I'll explain what I mean by that a bit later, but you can see he finishes serving his penalty and that's it. We're in 6th position. Not too bad of a return considering we started 13th and my lap time probably wasn't very representative of what I can actually do, as I didn't really do too many laps around here to start off. I often like starting far down the grid and see how many positions I can make up, and often last a question mark challenge, but we'll see how we go in that endeavour. But going through the final couple of corners there, you can see Aubergine actually got a bit of an overlap coming through turn 13, as I didn't get a great run around turn 12. So he slots in ahead by virtue of slipstream, breaking down towards turn 1. I'm going to be able to get the position back. No, we're actually going to lose position to the BMW. You see there's a bit of awkward contact. It's almost like a bit of lag was in there. I think I did manage to punt the BMW a little bit, who in turn shepherded the Nissan wide, but it's not to worry. There's no penalties, no SR flashdowns. I think we are okay in that one. So in 7th position there. So this is where we take a onboard look with Aubergine, so we're going to follow him for a couple of laps as my race wasn't really too interesting. So it's often interesting to actually have a look at yourself from the perspective of the person behind you. You can see sort of ways you drive and can really help you with how you can drive a bit better. For example, that particular corner I was actually quite wide and I didn't really notice I was driving that wide. Turn 9, which is that one, leading straight into turn 10, consecutive left-handers. You kind of want to miss the apex of turn 9, as if you take a racing line through turn 9, you're extremely wide through turn 10, which leads to a little tiny straight before turn 11, and then 12 and 13 to the final two corners we just went through then. But the Nissan has excellent sort of top-end speed. Probably not quite as good as some other cars, but still pretty good. So obviously helping the slipstream, and I'm probably fuel saving a little bit. So let's see if we can get a move down into turn 1. Not quite close enough that time, but we get through there quite nicely actually. I thought I took a nice line through there, but you can see how much ground he made up. So that's by virtue of being a little bit faster down the straight and able to hit the brakes a little, or hit the brakes at the same time. You can carry more speed to the slowest point of the corner there. But you can see the BMW up the front has sort of backed up the pack a bit. I'm now sort of in a Nissan Audi sandwich. I'm the meat in that sandwich at the moment. You can see Aubergine drops a wheel onto the gravel and just loses touch with us at the moment. Obviously you can't see gaps there, but you can see just how close he was, just how far away I was, sorry, from me there. Obviously you can't see gaps in the replay mode, but you can kind of estimate the kind of gaps at the moment. It's probably about 3/10 at the moment, but it's not to worry. Let's see if he can get a move up into turn 1. So obviously a move up into turn 1 is sort of crafting now. You've got to get a really good run through turn 12, which he probably hasn't quite done. Very wide, which means you're right on the apex for turn 13, which isn't great. You can just see the Supra behind goes into the back of Aubergine. I'm not going to try and pronounce that name as it's a massive letters and numbers, but we'll see how we go up into turn 1. So he's in the slipstream. I probably should have gone defensive then, but he brakes. He's up the inside. Let's see what happens. You can see Supra follows him through actually as we flash back to my race. Yeah, Supra follows him through, so I've lost 2 positions in one corner by virtue of probably not going defensive. Of course, defensive means I should drive to the inside of the track and take a much narrower line through the turn. park it on the apex, and there's no way that they can get through. But I didn't quite do that time, so I tried to take a racing line to get the best overall sort of time, but obviously it's not as good as I've lost 2 position. The other car tries to go up the inside, another Nissan Rainy tries to go up the inside through turn 5, and you can see he actually manages to pull it off, albeit with a bit of contact, but I don't think, well, you know, obviously a move with contact is never a good idea, so, but if he's managed to make it stick, so fair play, I guess. So it has been a great lap on my part, actually. So lap 6, what is it? Not quite the in lap yet. I think we'll go in on lap 8, if I remember correctly. But obviously my tyres are wearing out, the car is getting lighter as the fuel is used, and you can see Rain is very wide through turn 12, and because he comes back across the apex of turn 13, there's no way I can quite capitalise on that particular move through the final couple of corners there. The only way that would work if I actually managed to swerve around them across the apex of turn 13. That's the only way I can really capitalise on someone going wide through turn 12. So they've done a very good job to craft those couple of corners when developing this track, because, you know, it leads to exactly what I just explained there. Through the sort of S's section at the beginning of the lap, you can see I did actually get up a bit of ground to Rainy there. I was right on his bumper, but he goes quite wide through turn 4, so that sort of tells me that he's probably not practiced this combination as much as he should have been, but I get a really good run through turn 5. You can see I absolutely nailed the apex and turn in, and we'll see how much time I actually gain going down the hill now. 2 tenths, basically 3 tenths behind. We passed someone who's had a bit of an accident there, so I'm in 8th position, almost got the inside going through turn 8, but it probably wasn't quite going to be able to happen without contact. I obviously hate making contact in the game, it makes me look like a complete idiot. Get a nice run through turn 9 and 10, heading up towards the northernmost part, turn 11 now through there. Rainy just loses on the inside curb and bins it off the track, so that can happen. You can hit the curb sort of awkwardly, and it can really throw you wide. Now that particular run through turn 12 and 13 was actually pretty good. We're actually going to go in on lap 7, so that's a bit of an undercut strategy. Of course, 15 laps, an odd number. You cannot pit exactly halfway, as there is no pit lane halfway along the circuit. It's at the start, or the end, I guess. But you can see I get 4 new racing hard tyres, and I get a nice load of fuel there. So I went in, what did I go in? 32%, if I remember correctly. I didn't actually catch it on the left hand side there, and we come out with 83%. So obviously when you're in that pit stop, you only want to take on as much fuel as you need to get to the end of the race. You don't want to take on any more, but unfortunately it means I've come out in 16th position. Not great, but we'll see what happens with the pit stops. There was just a brief flash yellow flag. It's that BMW that was right up ahead with me up in like sort of 7th, 8th, 9th position, but it's really awkward through turn 4 there. You can see he just sort of comes out of the ghost at the wrong point, and I just go into the back of him. I probably should have let him back pass, come to think of it, but obviously it's not really my fault if the ghosting... Oh, I actually can't say that, can I? I really should have trusted that he stayed ghosted, but I think that was a bit of a poor bit of sportsmanship shown by me, and I do apologise for that. That's not what I'm like. I do like to keep things clean and keep things fair and make sure everyone can have a good race despite other people binning them off and having to drop back a load of positions. But we'll see what happens as we pass the pit lane of lap 8 starting into turn 9. So of course I went in early, which means there's a load of people that haven't pitted yet. For example, Rainy, he's just gone in with 25% of fuel, and Aubergine, they've both gone in, which you'll see will pass them in the pits. So that's the benefit of an undercut. I spend a lap on brand new tyres compared to everyone else, so obviously the people that I was in a battle pack with, if I go in before them, I spend a lap on new tyres, meaning that they spend a lap on old tyres, and therefore my lap is faster than theirs, and that's how I jump them in the pits. So that's how I get ahead of them. So it's an overtake, but not on the circuit. It's a very, very valid strategy. It's often what dictates people pit stopping, I guess. So that is that's how sort of pit stop strategy works. So a couple of leaders are in with 22 and 23% of fuel, so they're going quite well, pitting on the end of lap 9 it would be at the moment. They'd be that far ahead. You can see how much time we've lost to the leader actually. Audi's off the track. We managed to make a position up to him. It's very easy to go deep into turn 8. It lures you in to brake late as you look up on the map and it's like, oh, it's only 90 degrees. But because of the elevation change through turn 8 there, you can really be thrown wide. And I've just dipped a wheel over the inside curb through turn 11, and that's exactly what Rainey did before, and it threw him wide. He's going deep again into turn 12. We've really got to sort out a braking point for that corner there, because it leads to a poor run down this straight every time. A couple more people in the pits now. You can see we're in 9th position. I don't actually remember which position we were in when we went into the pits. It was around this sort of realm anyway. But you can see up ahead there, there's a good battle happening with the Ferrari and Aubergine there. So this is Nobupu too. So we'll ride on board with him for a little bit as my race sort of led just to me lapping on my own. But you see he goes up the inside of Aubergine there, almost runs him out, but just gives him enough room on the outside. Very good sportsmanship, very good racing by the pair of them there. And you can see they go through turn 5 okay, but you can see the move going up the inside of turn 4 didn't really pay off for Nobupu there, and he's just had to slot in behind Aubergine this particular instance in time going through turn 8. Now he brakes late. It's not going to be quite close enough to go for a dive bomb move into turn 8 there. Up the hill towards the turn 9 and 10 double apex left-hander there. Can really use the camber to get the car around there, and in this particular instance it has resulted in Aubergine gaining out a bit of a gap, but in turn he goes wide through turn 11 and gets a little bit of ground back to the Ferrari there. They both get okay run through turn 12 there. Is Aubergine going to pit at this point? No, he's not. I thought, yeah, no, he has pitted. I didn't forget about that at this point there, but you can just see how much time he streaks out on the straight. So the Ferrari really isn't a great car in Group 3. It's not really a great car in Group 4 either. It's obviously been heavily neutered, but you can just see going through turn 1, the Supra comes with a quite opportunistic move, goes around the outside of Ferrari. So from my perspective of what I'm seeing, the Ferrari's actually struggling a bit. Obviously I can't see the gaps on the left hand side, and I obviously don't know the driver, so I don't know how he races, but I thought it'd just be interesting to see just how quickly a race can turn from having a battle with someone up for a 5th position, for example, to falling back, well, that'd be 3-4 seconds to Aubergine now. So it just goes to show how quickly the tables can turn. Of course, Nobupu that time was quite wide through turn 8, and there I am lurking in the background, wanting to go for a move. Am I going to be able to pull it off through turn 9 and 10? Not quite through there, but am I going to be able to be close enough for a move into the final corner? Let's jump on board with me and have a look. I get a nice line through there, keep it in 4th gear. That's a nice smooth run through there. Are we going to be able to go wide through turn 12? Yes, we missed the apex again, leads to a poor run onto the straight. So I'm really struggling with that particular complex of corners there, but I'm in the slipstream with the Ferrari. Is it going to be enough to go for a move into turn 1? We go to the outside, probably should have gone to the inside, but I think I thought that I would be able to get ahead before the corner, and that is the case. Braking on the 100-meter board. Is he going to set it up the inside? He is. Not going to be able to quite go for a cutback. He just parks it on the apex, and I'm not able to capitalise on that bit of racing there. So that was not too bad racing there. A little bit of contact through turn 1, but I did try to go for a cutback, but he managed to brake right on his marks and get that corner nicely. Go through turn 4 okay, but through turn 5 we both take a nice wide line, and I carry not too much speed through there, so that leads to Nobupu able to get a little bit of a gap out to me. But going through the downhill section, he just all of a sudden starts to slow down. He's obviously had to lift at some point going through there, and I sent it up the inside of turn 8. A little bit of contact on the way through, but I thought I was well up the inside at that particular point, and I did kind of sense that Nobupu was kind of struggling with this combination a bit, as he was way up in where Aubergine was, in 5th position, fighting on the back bumper of him, and you can see just how far he's fallen back. Now it'd be 3 seconds now, or even 5 seconds at this point to Nobupu at least, between him and Aubergine, so that's how much time he's lost in the pit stop phase. So obviously it's good to get into your rhythm with these race Cs, but I think some people can get a little bit rattled after the pit stop, as you've got to stop for about a minute to do the pit sequence, and then you can kind of struggle to get back onto your pace. as well, so I think that's probably what's happened with Nabapu here. You can just see he's dropped off the back of me out of slipstream range. He's 9/10s, 8/10s, kind of within the realm of being able to get slipstream, but not really. We go through turn 4, let's see the gap coming out of here. It does close down a bit, but extends out as I get a much better drive out of the corner. I'm on the power nice and early through turn 5. You can see that leads to a beautiful run down the hill now. So we do get a little bit close to Nabapu coming into corners, but then on the way out we always extend, so that tells me that Nabapu is probably going quite deep into corners. Of course, motor racing is a game of slow in, fast out, as of course you'll always gain going fast out. But for the last couple of laps, we'll just ride on board with a couple of different people here as my race kind of really settled down. It was just laps 14 and 15, just me on my own, lapping consistently. So we'll have a look at the fight of a couple of other people. So we're on board with Rainy at the moment. Let's see how close he can get to Hayaku before turn 1. Obviously in the slipstream, we'll just see how close they get. So of course you can just see how close or how fast Rainy is getting in the gap to the Porsche. The Porsche probably not having quite as good top end as the Nissan there. They're going to go around the outside. Yes, they are. You can just see Rainy gets the move done and Peugeot follows him through. Hayaku actually lost out majorly in that. So didn't quite catch what happened. There might have been a bit of contact across the apex, or maybe Hayaku went a little bit deep, but I didn't quite catch what happened there. But he's lost 2 positions in turn 1, or she's lost 2 positions in turn 1 to the Nissan and the Peugeot. We'll see how we go down the hill. Is the Peugeot going to be able to put a move up onto Rainy coming down? You can just see how far off Hayaku has dropped, probably fuel saving a bit. Jump on board with the Audi. Obviously nothing much occurred in the fight with Rainy, and you can just see the Ferrari Binzer on the exit of turn 8. Oh man, that is that was funny. I didn't quite catch that one. Go back and have another look. Yeah, you can just see we'll go down the hill and jump on board with the Ferrari. Actually, it's no Bapu, so he was actually struggling on the after the pit stop phase. So this is probably by virtue of him not quite being able to find a rhythm. Yeah, he just gets on the power a little bit too early, and the uphill sort of section on the exit of that corner could really hurt you trying to get on the power, as the car doesn't want to go forwards because it's obviously got the extra resistance from trying to go uphill. And Hayaku manages to make that position, manages to exploit the fact that Nabapu couldn't quite get the power down on the exit of turn 4, that of turn 8, sorry. That was quite funny there. We'll ride on board with Auberjohn again, and you can just see how he's actually lost a position somewhere to the Supra up ahead. But we'll see if he can actually put a move onto this Supra. He's using traction controls, so that's probably going to hurt his run out of any corners there. But, oh, there was someone. The Audi is bended off. Soccer mad. Let's see what happens. We'll jump on board with him through turn 1. He's a little bit wide. He's sliding it. Tries to get on the power, and it's not quite going to work like that. Yeah, he just gets a little bit loose in the exit and just loses a little bit of time, and that puts him into contention for an overtake by Rainy. Therefore, he'll lose the 8th place. We'll see what happens through turn 4. Nissan goes very wide. Peugeot comes up with a nice move, capitalising on the mistake by Rainy there, and he's down into 10th position. Peugeot up to 9th, and behind Hayaku's got himself a penalty of some sort. But we'll see how we go to the end of the race. Obviously, this is the final lap now, so any move counts now. We're going to be able to go for a move up into turn 8. The Peugeot doesn't really go for a lunge there. Good racing shown by him. Of course, all these people using traction control probably affects the way the car responds to acceleration, but obviously I'm not the one driving it. I don't know. What do I know? I'm not the expert. But you can see how close he is to the Audi. He's going to be able to put a move onto the final corner. Turn 12 and 13 up next. Let's see, is the Audi going to be able to go deep and allow the Peugeot to capitalise? No, the Peugeot just slides wide, and that's going to be all we see of those pair. And we jump back to me. I've managed to bring it home in 7th place, which isn't too bad, really, considering where I started in 13th. 29 seconds off the lead. Probably not a great race, but you can just see the disparity in gaps there. You can see first and second at 2 seconds, and then it was 10 seconds back to 3rd place. Another 6 seconds added on for 4th, and then it was the early, or mid to late 20 seconds off, all the way down to 7th, and then it was sort of steady up through the 30s to the 40s, down to 14th position. but the leader was in an NSX, so, and then there were 3 AMG GT3s, so maybe that was a good car to try around here, but I didn't have enough time to do any more races around race C, actually, so that's why I've decided to do the replay angle so I could have its own video. Of course, I had the number 2 on my car, so finishing 7th, not great. DR will probably drop down a little bit, and I can tell you, this instance of me recording, I can tell you how close I am to A rating. But in the lobby afterwards, the leaders had sent me to the Shadow Realm, and I responded with R4M, and of course I would have if I was as fast as you. A little bit of a dig at myself, of course, the Shadow Realm, a reference to the R4M. You know, RAM for money, of course. You know, if I ram someone, it sends them to the Shadow Realm, courtesy of the one and only Super GT. Of course, that is where R4M originates from. But that is going to be it from Sardegna Road Track B for this particular instance. I hope you enjoyed the sort of different take I took. If that makes sense, of course, I take a take on something. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy having a look at some other cars of racing. Will obviously get better at that as I get better at my own racing, and can hopefully have an entire race of just me racing if my race is good enough and close enough with other players, but that will be where I leave it at this particular time. So if you did enjoy, I do urge you to click subscribe and get amazing videos like this in your subscription box every week, and do let me know that you like this particular video by hitting that like button down below. You can also check down below for lots of interesting descriptions, lots of interesting links, and links to interesting things down there. But that is going to be where I leave it today, so that's going to be it from me. I do thank you very much for getting this far into the video, and once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.